Okay, I think we are streaming. There we go. Oh, let me mute this one. There we go. Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to October's book club. We are here this evening with Indu Arora and her book titled Yoga, Ancient Heritage, Tomorrow's Vision. And Indu, I just have to say, this book is so beautiful. I'm just going to kind of flip, if I can, for anyone watching that maybe hasn't seen your book. It's just beautiful with the pictures and the highlighted text in the book. I just want to give you props. You did a really beautiful job with the design of the book. I love this book. Although I will say it's a little bit heavy to carry in my bag. But thank you so much for being here this evening, Indu. I'm so thrilled to have you here and to chat a little bit further about your book and just have you share with us some wisdom and insight into this beautiful book. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Amy. It is my pleasure. I appreciate you inviting me to this book club and picking up this book. Um, it is. It has taken so far to be able to summarize whatever little I have been able to understand and grasp about this endless, vast subject matter called yoga.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And so maybe let's just start with because this was your first book, correct?
We can say that this book had a prior version that was released in 2005. That was
Okay.
the time when I moved from India to United States, and it was a gift to the students, who I used to teach yoga classes back in India, and the participants of the classes wanted to have something they could refer to since they knew that I'm leaving for United States. So this book was an act of offering and gratitude to those.
Mm,
But later, in 2019, I worked on the revised version. So this book that you talked about, it's about, I would say, about 75% different than the first one, and definitely bigger and heavier than the first one. And it kind of is symbolic of the change that I have myself gone through.
mm,
uh,
right.
how the meaning of the words have changed for me in all these years. That what was my understanding of the word yoga at that time, and what was it when it was 2019 that changed. And therefore it just felt right. It felt like it was an act of integrity to revise it, to look back what needs to be changed.
Mm. And do I recall reading somewhere, I believe on your Instagram, that you used to teach like 8 classes a day?
Uh, yes, absolutely right. 8 classes a day. Each class was 1 hour each, and 5 days a week,
Wow.
and that went on for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's,
that's how I learned from my teacher. Now imagine
yeah.
the contrast when having shared 8 classes per day, 5 days a week. When I moved to United States, and it was one class a week, it was quite a contrast in lifestyle. But
Hmm.
I think one of the gifts of yoga is to keep mental flexibility, that
Yeah.
things change, both in Ayurvedic and basically in Vedic texts. There is this saying that everything changes based on desha, kala, and patra. Desha means the geographical region where you are. Kala means what is the era, what is the time, even the time of the day, but in the larger scheme, the era. And patra means who is the receiver, what is going to be the container. Based on that, the teachings and everything changes. So
Yeah.
we have to move on. But yes, I very much enjoyed that time, and I enjoy this too.
And it's so true. Like the older I get, the older my students get, right? Like I just, it's so interesting how we evolve as teachers and we evolve as students at the same time, right? Like we're always a student. I'm forever a student. I don't think I will ever stop learning, right? Like I it's just an evolution, and therefore your teaching style changes and you attract different people into your community. Um and I think that's the beautiful part of yoga.
Yes.
And sometimes we outgrow things too, right?
Absolutely. I think, in my limited understanding, that is the only truth on this path. Everything else can be good. Now, this is my limited understanding, please don't get me wrong. But it not only keeps me humble, but also true on this path, that the only truth is that I am a student.
Mhm.
Everything else is a role, and that role is temporary. But the truth that will stay forever is I'm a student of this subject. And knowing this, it is not just humbling, I think it is inspiring. And it allows a space for growth, and it allows space for shift and change and transformation. What happens is when we accept that, okay, not just accept, but when we connect and identify, more than connection, when we identify that um, I have now become a teacher, which may be true, but when we start just identifying with that role, sometimes it becomes very difficult to change, because whatever we have studied so far become a part of our identity, becomes a part of our ego, which means that now we think that, oh, I have spent 10 years, 15 years studying about this, and I've practiced it like this for so many years. How do I change now? That becomes a
Mhm.
blow to the ego. But if we identify not just to the role, but to the truth that we are all students on the path of yoga, I think it will become easier to keep moving on.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, the more we learn, the more we evolve as a human. And like my favorite way to learn is to learn something and then teach it to my class, because then I feel like I'm able to kind of ingrain it into me better, kind of like a hands-on learning. But when I'm teaching that, I'm still the student because I'm still like learning it myself, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. In fact, this inspires this thought in my mind that in Sanskrit, when we talk about teacher, there are levels or grades of teachers. And that totally speaks to what you're sharing, Amy, that there is a time in our life when we could be walking this parallel path where we are a student as well as a teacher. So there is a specific title for that, and that's called adhyapaka, which means someone who is learning. Adhyayan means to learn, learning while also teaching, versus someone who is upadhyaya. And I know these are Sanskrit terms, but maybe, just to kind of bring some level of familiarity, just to understand that there is a connection point, there is a reference point. And upadhyaya is someone who has become at some level master of the subject. Not just that person is not studying while they are teaching about it. They're not just instructing in a specific subject. They have digested it, realized it, and therefore their teaching comes from a place of mastery
Mm.
instead of just concurrent or parallel learning. And I totally agree with you that so much of what we learn gets solidified while we are sharing. I prefer using the word sharing than teaching, and that's just probably a terminology that is true for me.
Hmm.
And I feel that at the same time, when we are sharing, we are not creating a hierarchy that, hey, I know better. That
Yeah.
it makes it clear that, hey, I'm also learning. And maybe today what I'm sharing, tomorrow it might change because I've not realized it yet. I'm walking the path, and at present, this is my digested, this is my understanding of the subject matter. And my teacher used to say that don't teach from what you have memorized, Don't teach from what you believe is to be true. Teach from what you have realized. Teach what you have realized and share what you have understood. There's a difference. For
Mhm.
me, there is a difference that teach from what you have realized, because now you're not just mimicking something, you're not just memorizing something, you're not just regurgitating something, you have actually a solid experience, a solid foundation. So now with that kind of firmness, because there is an experience backed up with the knowledge, you can say it with a sense of firmness and clarity. But when we are sharing, it comes from that, hey, this is how far I have understood. So it kind of keeps us humble along the path,
Mhm.
and also does not gives a false idea to the people, the participants, that, oh, this is it. And then they find something else and they find it conflicting. Although I feel that conflicting information can also be beneficial, we feel that there is only one way to know something, and when we learn about a different way, we feel that, oh, these two things are conflicting. But I feel our mind has evolved to keep the same idea in two different stances and understand both of them to be true.
Mm. Yeah, and the whole I like using the word sharing instead of teaching. And I know I still feel weird calling myself a teacher of yoga. Because I by no means have mastered it. But I do love sharing what I have learned,
Mm.
and sharing that experience with my students. And um I love the feedback that I get from them as well. And it just creates this beautiful community, which is what yoga is truly all about.
Yeah, 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 absolutely, absolutely.
I've dropped the book on the floor.
Oops.
There we go.
So this is what we do in India. If we drop the book on the floor, we touch it and bring the hand on the forehead, because books are considered to be symbolic of wisdom. Anytime any sacred object, if it falls on the floor, this is like something, it is a reflex in my system. If ever a piece of paper also falls on the floor, or a pen, I would pick it up and touch it. This is like, I regard you as an, not just
Mm,
as an object, but I see you as living wisdom.
I
So,
love that.
so
It
yeah,
was meant to fall on the floor. We were meant to learn that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so tell us a little bit about what you hope readers can get from your book. There is so much knowledge and wisdom in here. And like I said, it's just so beautifully laid out and put together. But what is your hope for the reader who picks up this book?
That's a wonderful question, Amy. The way the book is laid out, it's divided in 10 chapters. And the progression of the chapters is laid out in a way to make us understand and appreciate every step. If we look at it, it goes from yama, niyama, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. Now, the first few chapters are not called Yama Niyama, but they are more to create a solid foundation, which is what Yama and Niyama is.
Mhm.
So, what I wish the reader, whether it is someone who is a teacher in training or someone who is just enthusiastic about understanding yoga without necessarily feeling whether the pressure or the desire to be a teacher, or even someone who is already a teacher, is to understand that yoga requires preparation. So the main chapters are divided into two parts, part one, part two. Chapter one has two parts. Chapter on asana has two parts. Chapter on pranayam has two parts, to kind of give the communicate that we don't just jump to asanas. There are two prior practices that we do before we go into asanas, which are called shat kriyas, cleansing practices, and apana kriyas, to emphasize the value of preparation. That is one. I really wish that we as seekers, as students, as teachers, do not underscore the value of preparation. In the words of one of my teachers, said that yoga is like the state of yoga. When I say yoga, I don't mean the means or methods of yoga, I mean the state of yoga. That the state of yoga is like climbing Mount Everest, the highest of the peaks. The only difference is the peak is not out there, but here, climbing your own head, which means
Mhm.
your own limited identities, ego, understandings, biases, conditionings, and so on and so forth. And climbing any of the peaks requires preparation. So when we take this trek, and I would call it a pilgrimage, we should not underscore the value of preparation, even if it is for the A of yoga, that is asanas. The second thing that I wish the readers to learn in an integrated way is yoga and Ayurveda together. So
Mm.
you see, right from the very beginning, the terms that are utilized in the book. In fact, at the very back of the book, there are asana analysis chart, pranayam analysis chart, where all the asanas and pranayam that are referred in the book, not that there are all of them could be there in the book, but whatever is there in the book is analyzed in the back part of the book through the lens of doshas, gunas, tissues, prana, tejas, ojas, through the lens of uh, how to understand this asan or this pranayam through the lens of the Ayurveda, because Ayurveda gives the individualized lens to the practitioner. Otherwise, we wonder, we cannot say that, oh, this asana is wonderful for everyone. We cannot generalize that because based on the person's age, stage, time of the day, season, based on all these things, the practice changes. So
Yeah.
how do we learn which practice is good for me? By understanding the doshas and gunas. So this is my wish, my second wish for the reader to take away integrated learning right from the first step. The third thing that comes to my mind that I wish is a takeaway for the reader is what you mentioned in the very beginning, Amy, that this book is heavy, is to not take yoga as a snack. It is heavy. It's
Mm.
a heavy meal. And it will require whatever stage we wake up. We may wake up in 5 years, 10 years, 1 month. Whenever we wake up, we will wake up as a result of sincerity and dedication. And the heaviness of the book, I hope it reminds you of that. I hope it reminds you that it is a decadent, dense bite. So chew upon it and relish it and take your time. When we take a bite of something delicious and decadent, how we let it melt in the mouth, how
Mhm.
we close our eyes, how we give it that a moment to it, isn't it? A respect to it that I'm going to enjoy this. And I give food examples because I relish food and I feel that maybe this will be a way for listeners to understand it, that how naturally we give that moment of respect by giving that pause, by closing that eyes. It symbolizes pratyahara, going within. I hope that we understand the yogic path to be like that it is dense and it is decadent and it is life changing, but it does require dedication and sincerity. So I hope the breadth and the depth of the subject that is covered in the book reminds you of that.
Mm. That's beautiful. And it's a heavy, dense book, but it's not like what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's not like cumbersome heavy because
Mm.
it's so easy to fit in the palm of your hand, the shape of it. Like I love the feel of the book. Like it's just, I don't know, it makes me very happy to hold this book.
Yeah, well, I would say I'm more old school in that. I love the feel of the paper, and I love when some a book has good quality paper
Hmm.
and colors.
Yes.
I'm just
Yes.
drawn towards the aesthetics of it. I as an individual, not just someone who is a person from India, I love colors and I love
Mhm.
textures. So for me, everything about it symbolizes that. It's an extension of me, but more than me. I hope it's an introduction to yoga,
Mhm.
and therefore it has taken good 2 decades, and that for me to be able to work on this. And I hope that, along with this, the other book, that is Mudra book, that was released. And so that was the first book that I published in United States, Amy. At one point you asked the
Mm,
question, was this the first
mhm,
book? The first book that was published was Mudra, the Sacred Secret, in
mm.
2014. And I'm so happy to say I'm sitting here in Minneapolis, and Minneapolis was the place where the book was launched, Mudra, the Sacred Secret, at one of the yoga conferences held in Minneapolis at that time. And the second book also was released in Minneapolis in 2019. And the third book, which is called Soma 100 Heritage Recipes for Self Care, was also published and released in Minneapolis. So I have a very deep connection to this city, to the
Yay.
state. Yeah.
And the Mudra book is just stunningly beautiful. Such a well done book as well. Do you just want to kind of briefly talk about your two other books and what so you have the Mudra book and the Soma, the recipe book?
Yes. In fact, for a brief, sneak preview of that book, you can look into the latest edition of the of MN Yoga and Life magazine, and there you go. There is an article. There is a recipe from that book, which is called Soma 100 Heritage Recipes for Self Care. That is my latest book, at present available as ebook. And right here, traditional Indian chai. My God, if I could shout on the top of my voice about what a traditional recipe of chai is, I would do that. And thank you so much for reviewing the Soma book in the magazine, Amy. I so appreciate it. So this is the third book that was penned down and published in 2020, a time when we really needed to come back to ourselves, the time when no matter which part of the world we were living in, we were forced to come back to ourselves and rely on whatever we have given to our body, our mind so far. So I felt the need to come back to those practices, those recipes, those tips and tricks passed on to me by my grandmother, mother, anyone, I say anyone who has mothered me, not necessarily in female form. I even quote my father. I even quote my yoga guru, one of the male yoga gurus. So anyone who has mothered me, they have taught me Ayurvedic recipes or yoga practices or mantra. So wisdom from Tantra, Ayurveda, and yogic texts. These are 100 recipes that I live by, and they have supported me throughout my journey so far. And there might be some big news coming in the month of November. And keep an eye on my website. You can just find me on induarora.com or yogsadhana.com or my Instagram account. And there you might hear some big news in 2019 about this book. But at present, there you will find this book available anywhere as an ebook. And the second book is Mudra, the Sacred Secret, that you were sharing about, Amy. Mudras, I feel, are, in text also it is talked about as a secret, something, a secretive practice that is passed on as oral tradition. Even yoga is an oral tradition, but even within that, there are certain practices which are passed on very individually. Secretly means what applies to you. But most of the time, I saw that in yoga practices, the only mudras that practitioner would do is this one, joining the index finger to the thumb. And then this mudra would be mixed up in all kind of asanas, whether it applies to that posture or not. But there are so many mudras. There are hand mudras, there are body mudras. I'm sure you are aware of bandhas, Mula bandha, Udyana bandha, Jivha bandha, the different locks in yoga. Those are also mudras. Those are body mudras. So there are so many kinds of mudras, but in Mudra, the Sacred Secret, I have picked up at least 150 plus hand mudras. And they are from Vedic texts, Tantric texts, to really understand their benefits, their application, and again, an integrated approach, seeing them through the lens of Ayurveda. So
Mm.
these are the three books so far. And all three of them are available on my website or Amazon, and they are they are written with the intention, one, to repay the debt of wisdom to my teachers. I do not take it for granted. This, yes, at one level it may look like it's a profession, because it is.
Right.
At the another level it may look like a career, which it is to some extent. But personally, to me, it is an act of repaying the debt of wisdom to my teachers. So the intention behind writing these books was, there is only as much I can speak, but maybe there is more that I can write, as a way to say thank you to those teachers, that this knowledge that you have given to me will not die with me. It will pass on.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the second thing is that I hope that the students benefit from it. So one is a debt to the teachers, and another is a promise to the fellow students on the path of the yoga.
Mm. So beautiful. And our books are our legacy, right? They live on after us. And I just think that that's so beautiful. That someday we'll all be gone, right? And your wisdom will live on, and your teacher's wisdoms through you will live on in these texts. So just so beautiful. Any final thoughts for our listeners? Any exciting trainings or classes or workshops you might have coming up that you want people to know about?
There is a lot of new topics for 2023 that are going to be there. And I would urge those who are watching now or what might be later on to um, to keep an eye on the website. That is just yogsadhana.com. This was the name, Yog Sadhana, given to me by my teacher when I was saying bye to her, or she told me out and go and share. And she told me to teach under the banner of Yog Sadhana. That is the name of my website. So keep an eye on the upcoming programs on Yog Sadhana. To give a teaser of it, there is a mudra training hosted by the local studio Devnari Yoga in January, and it will be held online. There is Yog Nidra training that will be held online in the month of February. And there are trainings on pranayam, on Laya Yoga of chakras, an integrated approach of yoga and Ayurveda by the end of the year in August. That will be in California if you want to attend in person, or even online if you would like to study. So there's a lot of different programs coming up next year, short, long, depending upon what calls you. Keep an eye on the website to look for dates and details. But what I would like to close with is, there is no rush in yoga. At times we put this pressure. Sometimes it is self built pressure. Sometimes we compare it with someone else, maybe a friend, maybe a colleague. Maybe we saw someone else doing something and we're like, oh my God, why am I not there yet? Whether in understanding or in accomplishment, take your time in yoga. What is the rush? It is something that you will, its soul's desire to realize itself. It is there in you. Don't rush. There is no fast forward. There is just no fast forward button or slow button. Whatever is your pace is okay. Just keep, what is important is keep moving on. Some days you will drag yourself, some days you will crawl, some days you will run, other days you will take a leap. Just keep moving on. That is the most important thing. And just no rush. Take your time. Yoga will come to you. It is also moving towards you as you are moving towards it. Trust that.
Mm. So beautiful. Indu, I've only had the opportunity to meet you in person once. We were both at the Iowa conference together. I think that was March. Um, And you just have this amazingly calm presence about you. And I am totally getting that through the screen as well. And I hope that all of our viewers are getting that as well. Just thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being this beautiful beacon in our community. It's such a pleasure that you are local for us here in Minneapolis. You're such an asset to our community. Thank you so very much for being here and sharing with us.
It is my pleasure, Amy. Thank you for doing whatever, all the efforts that you're putting in the Minnesota community, in the Midwest community. May it bear the results. May your efforts bear the result that is yoga, and may it bear thousandfold. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Just such a pleasure, Indu, to have you here. And again, if you want to learn more about Indu's books or her workshops and classes, find her online. And you can also follow her on Instagram. I believe it's Indu Arora Official. Is
That's
that your name on Instagram? Yeah, so definitely follow her, keep in touch. She posts beautiful. Your Instagram is just beautiful. Your words and your pictures, and I enjoy following you so much. So thank you, Indu. Thank you everybody for watching. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.